This is a pest snail. And that was a vicious predator with tiny beaks. But they're just the size of a pea. This is a pea puffer, the tiniest pufferfish in the world. In today's video, we're going to be building them an amazing ecosystem inside this 20-gallon tank. We'll be following their growth, introducing new friends, and putting their hunting skills to the test to see if these tiny predators can conquer a range of challenges. I ordered the pea puffers last night and they will be here in 10 days. But we have a problem. I don't have a tank set up and the aquarium needs 7 days to cycle. So I quickly gathered my supplies needed to build this ecosystem. That includes our 20-gallon tank. My plan is to create 2 trees on each side of the tank. So that means we need some soil substrate. After the soil was in, I grabbed some sand. But this isn't just any sand. This sand has beneficial bacteria already in it, which is perfect to help our tank become established quicker. Finally, I created a barrier of gravel around the sand, which came out amazing. Now with that done, I grabbed the driftwood and got them into place. To enhance the forest look, I put some aquarium rocks under the driftwood to make it look more natural and real. But as I was checking out the setup, I noticed one of the trees was too big for the tank. Thankfully, I have a mini saw, which cut down the driftwood in seconds. I continued to build out the forest with driftwood and rocks. Now, it's time for our DIY tunnel. I used this scrap piece of PVC and cut it to size. I made sure to sand it so it doesn't cut any of the fish. This DIY tunnel is for the exciting new addition that is coming up later in this video. Once it was covered in gravel, I placed it into the aquarium. Currently, our forest has no vegetation, so I'm using some moss to decorate the top of the driftwood. After I finished decorating the tunnel, I made my way to my plant farm to pick up some bigger plants. After I was done planting, I could finally fill up the aquarium. The tank was ready for all the accessories, including my secret formula, but there was one accessory that didn't fit. The lid that comes with this 20-gallon does not fit with our filter. So I had to go to the hardware store and grab a polycarbonate sheet. I then took the necessary measurements and cut the sheet to fit around the filter. Last thing was to add the light and let this little forest cycle for our mini predators. A couple days later, I was cleaning one of my tanks when I received a message, and it read that our pea puffers were going to be delayed for another 3 weeks. I was so bummed out. But the good news was that our tank has been fully cycled and is ready for life. So I went to the pet store looking for tank mates for the puffers. I saw that this store had sharks. Obviously, I can't put them with the pea puffers, but like the video if I should buy a shark and build it an ecosystem. After visiting the pet store, I got back with some lively tank mates. Here is the neon tetra, which I got 5 of. I love their blue and red combo. That color combo is going to do great in this forest ecosystem. Once they were in the tank, I noticed that one of them was missing. I kept finding only a group of 4. That's when I noticed the stray. He was alone in the corner. I decided to let them settle overnight and see if they could finally come together in this ecosystem. The next day, our stray had finally come back to the pack. Now with the neon tetra settled in the tank, I had a nocturnal friend that would fit perfectly in our ecosystem. This is my pet catfish. During the day, it likes to hide in this PVC pipe, but he was due for an upgrade. So I got 2 mini nets to cover both ends of the pipe. I lowered my nets in and quickly covered both ends so he couldn't escape. I put him in this container so I could acclimate him. He found shelter in the net, so I decided to leave it in while he acclimates. I took the opportunity to take a closer look at him while he was in here. This is a bumblebee catfish. Usually catfish eat everything in sight and grow massive. But this little guy can only get up to 3.5 inches. It had black and yellow bright stripes, just like a bumblebee. As I release this catfish into the tank, I need you guys to comment a name for him down below. Slowly, the catfish started to explore the tank. Then, out of nowhere, he got the zoomies. He was dashing all over the aquarium like a torpedo. I was starting to think he was training for the Olympics or something. After a couple laps around the tank, the catfish had found a spot that was comfortable under the driftwood. A couple minutes went by, and I finally found him by his cave that I built him. But he wasn't inside. He was underneath it, almost camouflaged. Eventually, he would make his way into the tunnel I made him. I was so happy to see he was enjoying his new home. So I threw in a piece of shrimp to see if he was hungry. As I was waiting to see if he would eat it, all I saw was him zoom by super fast over and over again. Either he loved his new home or he missed his old one. So I looked up to see if this was normal behavior, and I found that newly introduced catfish are just exploring their new home. When I came back to the tank after researching, I found the shrimp had attracted a bunch of snails. The shrimp was devoured into the night. The next day, we had a problem. These pest snails have taken over the tank. They are on the substrate, plants, driftwood, glass, and each other. Their population has exploded in my tank. I even found their eggs on the glass. These snails are going to eat my fish's food and strip the plants of their nutrients. This can also lead to too much poop in the water, which can lead to an ammonia spike. They got into this tank from the plants we put in here. But not to worry, our pea puffer's favorite meal is snails. Hopefully they're up for the challenge. Today's the big day. Our pea puffers have arrived. I made sure to acclimate our mini predators before putting them in. These guys got a sneak peek at their new home, which has plants for cover, open areas for exploration, and some colorful tank mates, and even a few hitchhikers ready to serve as their first meal. This is the ultimate ecosystem for pea puffers. Once they were acclimated, I let them go. At first, they were slowly checking out their new surroundings. I noticed one of the pea puffers was a little bit bigger than the others. Not only was this one larger, but he was also a seasoned hunter, because he was quick to strike a snail. The other three began following and studying the bigger one, almost like they were learning from him. It didn't take long for the rest to follow and begin hunting. One approaches a snail on the driftwood, and then sizes up the snail. It begins to back away, and then gains the courage to strike. It missed, but it was going to have plenty of opportunities to try again. Hours passed and our tiny predators became expert hunters. Pea puffers are equipped with sharp, beak-like teeth that allow them to crush and break through snail shells. It is also important for pea puffers to feed on snails to help keep their teeth trimmed. To go along with their beak-like teeth, the pea puffers have a near 360-degree view with those massive eyes. Their eyes rotate independently like a chameleon. Those eyes just don't make them adorable. They can lock on to tiny snails with pinpoint accuracy, even in dense plants or substrate. Pairing these attributes with natural predatory instincts, you have the ultimate micro-predator. After the pea puffers enjoyed a couple treats, they have encountered a strong current in the tank. Our filter above releases a strong flow which causes a part of the tank to have a current. This almost resembles their natural environments like rivers and streams. They showed they could handle a slightly faster current just like in the wild. Leave a comment below suggesting what we should call this group. The curious puffers started to check out the catfish. These little guys were definitely worth the wait. Over the next few days, I noticed the peas were hanging around the structures more. I need more plants. Here is my lake ecosystem, filled with life, including plants that are flourishing and plenty to spare. But plants were not the only thing I introduced. This is the hard-working cleaner of the aquatic world. Meet the autosynclus catfish, a tiny powerhouse now in my pea puffers ecosystem. These are peaceful companions that love to eat algae. These guys kind of remind me of mini Placos. I got a total of 4. Keeping them in a group encourages their natural behavior. If they are kept alone, they will become shy and won't eat algae. Our dwarf catfish are doing awesome in here. I found them all grazing on the driftwood, substrate, and glass. I even found them having a meeting by the heater. They love being in groups. Now, these guys do help clean your tank, but they need more than just algae to thrive. Fish pellets do well to diversify their diet, but I wanted something cooler. Here is a cucumber. I cut a piece of cucumber and cooked it in the microwave. Then I lowered it to the bottom of the tank. Minutes went by and nothing came to nibble on the snack. Obviously the pea puffers swam by because they only eat meat. Finally, this little fellow came to get a closer look, but he just ended up leaving the scene. Then another one came by, but he was more interested in the substrate and then sucked onto the glass, almost like he was making fun of my treat. I eventually got the message and took out the cucumber, but I knew exactly who wouldn't let it go to waste. My shrimp and the lake ecosystem swarmed in, tearing into the cucumber like it was their favorite meal of the year. A couple days have passed and the pea puffers were doing great in here. The new plants have transformed their home. They were weaving in and out like tiny explorers. Watching them glide through the water was one of the coolest things to watch. But then it hit me. All they've been eating were the snails they were hunting in the ecosystem, which they have become experts at. So I decided it was time for a new challenge, frozen bloodworms. I thawed out the bloodworms, and the pea puffers waited by patiently. However, when the worms were in the tank, only the leader of the group was brave enough to take a closer look, while the others hid under the new plants. Then I found all the pea puffers checking out the new foreign object. Finally, the leader went into attack mode. Next, I released some into the tank. This got the attention of the neon tetras that came barking like hyenas. I saw the rest of the peas snapping up the worms. Once everyone in the tank got a taste of the worms, each species needed to exert dominance. The peas were chasing each other. Then, a tetra tried snatching a worm from a pea puffer. This aquarium has some fun dynamics. I was happy to see everyone in the tank like their new snack. Their natural predatory instincts are clicking on all cylinders. I think they could be ready for something more challenging and alive. I have a feeling these inhabitants are ready for the next challenge. But then I realized I had not seen our cave dweller during the feeding frenzy. So, I got the idea to check under the PVC's pipe. I slowly lifted the cave up, and that's when I spotted our little guy. Once he quickly shifted, I knew he was doing fine, so I lowered the cave back down carefully. I had fed this tank a multitude of things and never saw him actually eat. But I know he was doing just fine because I would always leave a little meal at his doorstep, and when I came back, it was gone. These catfish are usually active at night. The pea puffers would swim up to the reflection, basically bumping into the glass. Our mini predators thought the reflection was another fish. This is because pea puffers are very territorial. Not only did this show me our pea puffers are territorial, but they're building confidence in their new home. So I think they're ready for our latest challenge, live blackworms. They have taken on live prey and big worms, but now it's time for them to take on a live meal that's bigger than their whole body. I released a bunch into the tank. Our inhabitants were quick to take a bite. The pea puffers did not even let the worms hit the bottom of the tank. It was a feeding flurry. Since our worms are alive, they constantly wiggle, which stimulates the hunting behavior for our fish. I was observing the puffers as the worms disappeared, and I noticed how big their bellies would get after each meal. I thought it was one of the cutest things I have ever seen. It looked like they were almost pregnant. I decided to leave the tank to enjoy their meal. A couple weeks have passed by, and I noticed something different about our tank. It has become a graveyard, but a graveyard not for fish, but for snails. Our tank is filled with empty snails. The pea puffers have taken care of our snail problem and conquered many other challenges while becoming a tight group and finding their place in this aquarium. Subscribe to see more adventures and please like the video. Here is another video for you to watch.